Welcome, 8th graders, to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in, because today we are unlocking what is basically a secret superpower for reading. Seriously, have you ever stared at a massive block of text and thought, what is this author actually trying to do to me? Well, today we're tackling the foundations of textual architecture and moral literacy. We're going to look right under the hood of the things you read every single day, figure out how they're built, and ultimately we'll discover how building a structured mind connects to building a really peaceful, structured life. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's build some serious knowledge.
I want you to picture this for a second. Imagine you're trying to bake your all-time favorite chocolate chip cookies. You pull up a recipe, but instead of a nice, clean list of ingredients and simple step-by-step instructions, it's written out like a dense 8-page chapter in a history textbook. Something like, in the early dawn of the kitchen, the flour was first introduced to the baking soda. I mean, how frustrating would that be? Your cookies would literally end up as hockey pucks.
You see, there's a huge difference between building a well-organized house and just dumping random materials into a pile. Authors actually choose specific structures on purpose to guide you toward their goal. A recipe is fundamentally different from a breaking news article, right? And a poem looks completely different from your science textbook. Authors don't just throw words at a page. They build a house for their ideas. And they want you to easily walk right through the front door, not force you to climb down the chimney. And this actually illustrates a much larger truth, which is beautifully captured in 1 Corinthians 14:40. But everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. Order matters so much. Structure matters. When things are built with purpose and organization, they just make sense. They function. They guide us instead of totally confusing us. That principle of order applies to the whole universe. It applies to our everyday lives, and as we're going to see today, it absolutely applies to the texts we read.
All right, Section 1, the Reader's Roadmap. What are text structures? To really get this, I want you to start thinking of authors as map makers. When you open a book, the author is basically your personal tour guide, handing you a roadmap.
So, let's get a crystal clear definition going. What exactly is a text structure? It is simply the way a text is organized to help reveal and support the author's purpose. It's the invisible skeleton holding the whole body of the text together. Recognizing this structure is exactly like finding that roadmap. It shows you the absolute best, fastest, and clearest way to get to the author's main message.
And there are 4 major tools an author might pull out of their toolbox to build this structure. Let's run through them really quick. First, chronological order, where things happen in a time sequence. Next, problem and solution, where we face a challenge and find a fix. Then, compare and contrast, looking at how 2 things are alike and different. And finally, cause and effect, where one event triggers another.
Moving right along to Section 2, how structure reveals purpose, the why. Now, you might be sitting there asking, why do I even need to know this? Can't I just read the words? Well, sure, but knowing the structure turns you from a passive reader into an active detective. It completely changes the game.
Here is the crucial takeaway. Structure helps you analyze information way more deeply. If you understand it, you won't just know what the author says. You'll see exactly how they are guiding you to think a certain way. You'll spot their logic, their reasoning, and honestly, even their tricks. This doesn't just make you a faster reader, it makes you bulletproof against bad arguments, because you can see exactly how their house is built. If the foundation is weak, you'll spot it instantly.
Section 3, real-world examples, the how. Okay, let's dive into this and see how these mapmaker structures actually operate out in the wild. Theory is awesome, but let's put it into practice. Let's start with a persuasive essay about ocean pollution. The author really wants you to care, and maybe even donate or change your habits, so they use a problem and solution structure. Step 1, they hit you with the problem. Plastic waste is harming sea life. It's heavy, it's really sad, but they don't just leave you hanging there. Step 2, they offer the solution. Reduce plastic use, support cleanup projects. Why use this specific structure? Because it makes the persuasion incredibly strong. It moves you from a place of deep worry directly to a place of action and hope. Next up, let's look at a biography of the amazing Harriet Tubman. If you're writing to inform someone about a person's life, you're definitely going to use chronological order. The author presents events in the exact sequence they happened, taking us on a journey from her childhood to her incredible escape to her legendary status on the Underground Railroad. This perfectly supports the goal of informing you because it lays out her life story naturally, exactly as time passed.
Now,
What if an author is writing an article about renewable energy, specifically solar power versus wind power? They're going to lay out the similarities and the differences side by side using a compare and contrast structure. Why? Because this lays all the cards on the table, helping you, the reader, make a highly informed decision. It expertly supports the purpose of informing you of your options or maybe persuading you to pick one over the other.
All right, Section 4, Test Your Knowledge, the homework check. My friends, it is time to lock in what we've just learned. We're going to do a rapid-fire homework check. I'll ask some questions, and I want you to mentally answer them as we go. Let's see how sharp that new structural radar of yours is.
Question 1. Name one text structure and describe it. Just take a second to think. Did you go with chronological? That's time order. Maybe cause and effect? One thing making another happen? Got one in your head? Excellent.
Question 2. Why might an author choose a problem/solution structure? Think back to our ocean pollution example. Remember the journey the author takes you on? It's the ultimate structure to persuade someone to take action to fix something broken, because it moves you from concern right into hope.
Number 3. Identify the structure of a news article you've read lately. Just scan your memory for a headline you saw this morning. Was it reporting on a sports game chronologically or explaining the cause and effect of a recent storm? Look for those invisible structures out there.
Question 4. How does chronological structure help readers? Well, think back to the Harriet Tubman biography. It helps us because our human brains just naturally understand time. It gives us a really clear step-by-step journey of an event without jumping all over history and confusing us.
And your final challenge, question 5. Compare two text structures and explain which is better for persuading. Would you use chronological order to persuade me to buy a new phone? Or would you use compare and contrast against my old phone? It's compare and contrast, for sure. It highlights exactly why the new thing is better. Look at that. You're officially thinking like map makers.
Finally, Section 5. Education, Morality, and Peace, the ultimate purpose. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to shift our focus just a little bit. We've talked a ton about the architecture of the words we read, but let's zoom out and talk about the architecture of your mind. Because according to the curriculum from heroesmartacademy, there is a much, much deeper purpose to all this learning.
The curriculum actually roots its foundation in Romans 8:6-7, which promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. Just like an orderly text provides a clear map for a reader, having an orderly spiritual mind provides an incredibly clear, peaceful map for your life. The source material proposes that when we align our thoughts with biblical morality, we sweep away all that chaos and confusion the world loves to throw at us. Which brings us right to the curriculum's core philosophy. Education without morality will hurt. Let's be totally real for a second. What is the point of being incredibly smart, of knowing all these text structures and acing every test, if you just use that education to make bad choices? Bad choices inevitably cause pain for you and everyone around you. That is exactly why the Godly Learners series intertwines biblical morality with your education. True wisdom isn't just about what you know. It's about how you use what you know to live a good, ordered life.
So, I want to leave you with one final, deeply important question to ponder today. Will you use your education and your brilliantly structured mind to bring peace to your life and to the world? Understanding the structure of a text is powerful, but understanding the moral structure of your life, that's world-changing. Take these tools, use them wisely, and go build something absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I seriously can't wait to see all the amazing things you're going to accomplish.